Well, we saved the best for last in this series of videos, and in this video we're going to be proving identities. And basically what that means is we are given two expressions that should be equal, and we're going to show that they are in fact equal. And so what we'll do is we're going to attack this expression, and hopefully this is kind of like our goal, is we want to simplify this so that we get the goal 2 over 2 sine of theta. And there's some strategy to this, and some of it is just being flexible and being able to try different things and play around with expressions. Sometimes when you're doing these, you might be able to think a couple steps ahead as you get more comfortable with it. Oh, what would happen if I multiplied it by this? Or what would happen if I made this substitution? But in the beginning stages, it's just important to make sure that you are following the rules of algebra and just trying stuff. So what I want to do is I want to attack this expression, and I want to get it into this really simple expression. It might seem kind of hard to believe that this boils down to just this simple fraction, 2 over sine of theta, but let's see if we can't get there. And as far as steps, thinking like, oh, how am I going to do this? I can't add these fractions together as they are right now because they have different denominators. Right? This denominator is 1 plus cosine of theta. This denominator is sine of theta. So maybe the first thing that I could try to do is I could multiply everything by, or rather I could get a common denominator with both of these fractions and then add them up together. So what I'll do then is actually let me rewrite this down below. Sine of theta over 1 plus cosine of theta plus 1 plus cosine of theta over sine of theta. So the first thing I'm going to do now that I've rewritten is I'm going to multiply this first fraction by sine of theta over sine of theta. That's going to get me a common denominator if I multiply this fraction by 1 plus cosine of theta over 1 plus cosine of theta. All right, so now I'll combine all this together, and in the numerator I'll have sine squared of theta over here over sine of theta. I'm just going to leave this as two separate factors for now. Plus, and now I have to multiply this together, and maybe I'll do this off to the side. 1 plus cosine of theta times 1 plus cosine of theta. That's going to be 1 plus cosine times 1 is cosine of theta, and then another cosine of theta, and then cosine squared of theta. So this is going to be equal to 1 plus 2 cosine of theta plus cosine squared of theta. So let me put that down here. 1 plus 2 cosine of theta plus cosine squared of theta over sine theta times 1 plus cosine of theta. All right, so it's looking like we're not simplifying quite yet, but now we can actually combine these as one fraction. So what I'll do is, actually I'm gonna copy this and move it to another page here, or maybe I'll just scroll down. There we go. Look at that. So this is going to all equal, I can combine this, and I can say this is equal to sine squared of theta plus, now I'm going to actually start off this next fraction with the cosine squared of theta, maybe you see why, plus 1 plus 2 cosine of theta all over sine of theta times 1 plus cosine of theta. All right, moving further, this sine squared plus cosine squared, that simplifies to 1. That's great. So I can now write this as 1 plus 2 cosine of theta over sine of theta. Hey, this is looking good so far. 1 plus cosine of theta. I'm seeing into the future, and I'm excited. I have the sine of theta down here. I see something with a 2. Let's see what I can do further. This is going to equal 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is 2 plus cosine of theta over sine of theta, 1 plus cosine of theta, which is going to equal 2 times 1 plus cosine of theta. If I factor that out, I factor out the 2 over sine of theta, sine of theta times 1 plus cosine of theta. 1 plus cosine of theta cancels, and then finally this does in fact equal 2 over the sine of theta, and I have done it. What a satisfying feeling. That is a lot of work to get there, but we were able to get there. So take another look at this if you need to. This was not an easy problem. And then when you're ready, try this problem. Pause the video, see how it goes. And here is my solution. Check out all the work that I did, make sure you can follow it through, and hopefully you are getting the hang of this.